Guy with a. Oh, here it is. Go. I missed it. Hello, this is Dave Marks, the Spy Guy, coming to you live on a Saturday, uh, a Sunday evening with a Warhound Actual. And I was just saying that you wouldn't believe the week I've had, but he had his own week. Uh, but what happened? I so I on Monday night I spilled wine on my laptop, and it's spurts out. My fault completely. Tuesday, I go to take it to my regular guy. He's on vacation this week. So I go to the nearest store wanting to support a local business. Guy chart says, I can have this fixed for you, no problem. I say, what time, one day can you do this for me? It's like, oh, I'll get back to you. I'm like, well, no, I really need to know what day I'm leaving for Europe in a few days. And so he's like, no, don't worry. So I call him up on Wednesday. Find out what's going on. No answer. Wait a few hours. No thing. Show up at the store. He's not even there. Go 3 hours. Come back. He's still there. Wednesday. Show up. Thursday. Show up. He's there. And I said, hey, I need to get this laptop finished as soon as possible. Or you need to give it to me so I put it away somewhere. So when I get back from Europe, I can get it fixed. And the guy's like, no, don't worry. Oh, you can have it done for you Friday by noon. I'm like, okay, fine. Show up at noon Friday, not there. Show up for 1 o'clock Friday, not there. I cannot delay this trip any longer because this incompetent boob doesn't know what the hell he's doing. So I'm in Ottawa right now. Tomorrow I'm going to Montreal, and then I'm flying into the literal belly of the beast.
Well, that sounds like a great fucking time.
Yeah. Yep. And of course, every day I'm also having, I have to, an extra day longer, is another $100 for a month. My roommate didn't pay the electricity, the kid, because she's been off in Pakistan.
Oh, lovely.
I'm like, I would have paid the bill. It would have been cheaper than staying in the rooms.
Oh, Jesus, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
that is ridiculous.
So tomorrow I'm taking the train up to Montreal, and then I get on a plane and I fly to London.
Into the maw. Speaking of London, how's it feel, you little bitches? Anyways, sorry. I don't care that Argentina lost against Spain. I'm just glad that fucking Argentina beat England. Anyways, I honestly speaking, I didn't give a shit at that point in time. I'm like, it needs to be a new world team that beats England. I don't give a shit past that. And at that point in time, once they won, I didn't even realize there were more games ongoing after that. I was just like, you know what, whatever. I don't give a shit. So what's the itinerary for the trip in London?
Okay, so I'm spending about a week there because previous times I've been there, I've always been with other people, and they always wanted to do other things. So I want to go hit the Imperial War Museum. I hit maybe Parliament or some of the other things that are in the city that I missed out. Also, me and Kev, who I haven't seen in a couple of years, about 3 years since we hung out together in person, and also I'm meeting up with my my Persian resistance contact.
The supposed Persian resistance. I'm sorry. I know that's a dick thing for me to say, but at the same time.
First time we met, we were at this very... Well, the first time I met this guy, I wanted to overthrow the Ayatollah together, so I figured he was on board.
Lordy Lord. No, it's actually really funny. So I've been talking to my guys on the side I've been working like a mad lad the past couple weeks, getting back into the swing of things and getting back into moving around again after fucking the shit show that was June. And Canada has been quite a bit of a subject for us as of late, good sir. Let's just say only about 5% of the population east of the Canadian Shield is safe. like the I don't know if you've seen the most recent discourse over the absolute shit show that has been these fires that have been going on up in Canada. But that is
I had literally
I can imagine
that, and then like, is there sort of fires going on? Because I haven't seen a smog day in Ontario in like 25 years, and he's like, oh
yeah, no. It actually got so bad down here, like Michigan, they had a travel advisory up the entire like 2 or 3 days that it was going on. It finally started clearing up the past day and a half. Yesterday morning was kind of iffy, but then going into the later afternoon, the winds had finally carried off most of it. But yeah, Michigan had a travel advisory. That's how bad it was up there. Like they were down to like maybe 100 feet of visibility. That's how fucked up they were. Here, I would say we were probably down to
in Highlander 2.
Yeah. We were here in Ohio. We were down to about 100 yards, I would say, of visibility. Like it literally looked like the mist. Like it was eerie as fuck. But the disproportionate.
Like I said, there wasn't any mist for me. It looked like I was in Highlander 2 with the first ozone shield above my head.
Yeah, seriously. But the disproportionate response from Canadians over the fact that they're being criticized by Americans for, being stupid. That's been quite revealing, to say the least. Mm-hmm. Canadians continuing to make themselves look like assholes to Americans, so Americans are more inclined to allow Donald Trump to invade. Anyways.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, the problem is the federal government is run by these environmental fanatics who won't allow them First Nations, who traditionally does it. This is their job. They've been doing it for thousands of years before we all showed up to clean up and do proper forest management. Know how to do it. And the federal government traditionally is a big payer of them, but they're not doing it anymore. And there was like the Albertan, because what happens in Ontario, it's usually not that bad. We do control burns, we do fire management here for the most part, because most of the parks here are provincial parks. The federal parks, but in Quebec, most of the parks there are federal. And in Alberta, the major, and there's like the Albertan Minister of Environment is calling up the federal government saying, we've done our forest management. You're putting our forests in danger. Why don't you do your freaking jobs? But they're run by these crazy green fanatics who
well, and not even just yeah, well, and not even just that, but the fact that they are actively pushing back against certain groups, speaking of the First Nations, here in the US, California, everybody, that was the big one that the Canadians tried to play up was like, oh, but all the smog we got from the Palisades fires. And it's like, hey, motherfucker, like that's one state that we've been fucking railing about for fucking 20, 30 years now. Like we've been criticizing them. Where you been?
Yeah.
And speaking of the First Nations, the native reservations out there, you notice how the fires never touch their lands because they actually do what they're supposed to do, regardless of what the state tells them they're allowed to do, because the federal government has stepped in and said, hey, no, you're good to do whatever you want on your territory. That's the deal we signed with you guys. We're not getting involved in this. So if the state comes on your land and tries to fucking stop you from doing your thing, what happens on the reservation stays on the reservation. And
tell you are the same kind of green environmental friendlies would never dream of going on the reservations up here, even to pursue their things. I remember talking to a couple ex-girlfriends once, and we were playing a board game, and I was talking about how we need to do First Nation reforms and do this and that, and kind of like normalize them off the reservation system. And they were like, "Oh, but they have a special nature to the land." And I'm like, looking at them like, "Do you two?" And they're both very liberal. I was like, "You two believe there's some sort of elves, don't you?"
Hey, real quick, just letting you know, your mic is stuttering quite a bit.
Okay,
so
well,
just so you're aware.
I have a really crappy laptop right now.
No, I understand. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah.
No, and that's the thing is like the California state government can't touch, like, mind you, Bureau of Land Management, which the BLM that we all like, they've been doing a stellar job out in California. They've been doing a stellar job almost across the board. Like, there's only been a few situations, and it's usually places that are harder for them to get into anyways, that they can't get in and do controlled burns on a consistent basis. And that's where, like, for example, the fires that just happened in Wyoming, it was like last week or the week after, or a week before, somewhere in that region. Those fires, that's an area, like that entire sector BLM gets in there maybe once every like 3 years or something like that. And so on an off year, a fire starts up. It's like, well, shit, we can't, nothing we could have done anyways. But when you have this systemic failure that you're seeing out of Canada, and California is another great example of this. When you have this systemic failure, it's like, hey, motherfuckers, like, you're going to have to fucking eat the fucking criticism. Otherwise, you're making yourselves look like assholes. And you're not going to like the response that you get when you start making yourself look like assholes. Because the average fucking American right now is pissed at the response that they've gotten from the Canadians. They are pissed. And mind you, the Canadians are still trying to fucking pull some salty bullshit about, sports and whatnot. And people are like, wait, really? You guys are that butthurt over that still? Like, that's like, I've seen some shit off of Facebook, for example. And mind you, if you guys don't know, Twitter is where all the radicals are, but Facebook is where all the fucking normies are. And same thing with Instagram. Actually, Instagram's kind of like a mix. But when you see the number of people talking shit about Canadians here on the US side, oh, brother, you're in trouble. You're in fucking trouble. Because when the normal zeitgeist becomes, oh, so Canadians are just a bunch of dickheads that we need to fucking get rid of, that's that. Ooh. Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it works out. Again, as I stated earlier, 95% of the population east of the Canadian Shield is in danger. And that's the funny part is that the Canadian side of this discourse, they are all out like, oh, Americans are all fucking shit, blah, 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 blah. And people are still like down here, people are still giving that allowance for some of the people up there that are not bad, like yourself, for example. And still giving that allowance. The Canadian side of the discourse, they're not giving any allowance whatsoever. No, it's all Americans. All Americans are trash. All Americans are terrible. Blah, 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 blah. They're the worst people on the planet. It's like, okay, we see you. We see you, you little British cunts.
And French.
Actually, funny enough, the French side of the discourse has been quite tame. Funny enough. Because I think the frogs realize, like, do we really want to talk shit about the really big guy that sits next to us on a normal fucking basis and has a very, very, very unregulated temper about things? Nah, we ain't play. We don't want that smoke. We don't want that smoke. Now, most of the discourse and most of the negative discourse is coming out of Ontario. And funny enough, a lot of the accounts have been doxing themselves. Like a lot of the bigger accounts that I've been seeing, they've been doxing themselves. Like one of the upper Canadian Cavalier, I think is his name. He's from the Windsor area apparently. And I'm like, oh, that tracks.
Okay.
That fucking tracks.
Yeah, I don't pay much, except for one or two accounts. I don't spend a lot of time looking at Ontario accounts for sure.
Well, here's the funny part about it is that honestly speaking, I don't fucking pay attention to these fucking assholes. The problem is that these assholes have come into the zeitgeist as hard as they can because they're literally just trying to fucking keep themselves above water. And that's what it seems to be is they are attempting to at least get ahead of the zeitgeist, and it's failing epically. It's like, you really didn't think this through?
Yeah, pretty much. A lot of borderline personality disorder on X.
Oh yeah, of course. What's actually really funny, there's actually a discussion that has cropped up as part of this conversation, a part of this discourse, is why can't you guys do it when the Russians do? And that was an interesting fucking topic that somebody brought up. Yeah, I forget what the thread was exactly, but it was looking at like reported wildfires versus areas that are being tracked as managed. And if you look at the Russian reporting, they manage, like, overall they manage their forests incredibly well, which to be expected because, you know, Russian lumber ends up everywhere across fucking across Eurasia. And fucking and you look at it and you're like, they have it's like an average of like 100 150 fire, like decently sized fires. Not, I wouldn't even say big fires, like decently sized fires where it's like 1,000 acres plus that gets burned. But then you look at the same metric when it comes to Canada. Canada is like 10 times worse in general when it comes to their fires, and it's just like, oh, the Canadians are not going to like this one. And that's what's actually come like really been eye-opening is how much they are posturing at being compared to the fucking Russians. It's like, ooh, you really don't like that one.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, I'll definitely be using them in the future against some folks that I know.
But you know, moving on from the whole ridiculous discourse that is the Canadian wildfire situation, have you been tracking the situation with Lindsey Graham at all?
A little bit. Different people have different impressions. One thing that I did see when Rich does politics, where everyone thinks he has billions of dollars to squirrel away, but we can tell he really doesn't have it. He actually is one of the few in his position who didn't feed heavily at the trough.
Well, so yeah, I saw that episode as well, with EM and Holt and whatnot. I saw that episode, and here's the reason why I don't agree with them, is because at the end of the day, if you actually run the numbers, you actually look at what's publicly available about Graham's activities financially, it's like, okay, sure, but we can usually catch wind of some shady shit real fucking quick. Like, the Pelosi's, for example, like the Pelosi's, every fucking move the Pelosi family has made over the course of their fucking time, within the government as a whole, they have done so much egregious shit that it's impossible to hide it. So if Graham is sitting with billions of dollars offshored, we would know about it. We would absolutely fucking know about it. And so it's like, I'm sorry. Like we know about Pelosi shit. You look at the situation with Sherrod Brown, for example. Sherrod Brown's got a lot of fucking skeletons in the closet financially. If you don't know who that is, previous Ohio senator was replaced by Bernie Moreno. Which speaking of Bernie Moreno, motherfucker calling for sanctions against Canada for the wildfire shit. Like, I thought that was hilarious. I'm like, that's my senator, bitches. Then you've got Elizabeth Warren, which Queen Bee her fucking self when it comes to financial crimes, and so on and so forth. Like, you have all these different people, and it's like, who's Rob Goodman, former House rep from Ohio, for example. Same deal, like very shifty fucking financials in general. It's like, by the way, for everybody, is it Goodman or Good? Fuck, I forget now. He was a Republican, just for counterbalance here. Because I know some people are going to be like, hey, you're only naming Democrats. Fuck off. The Democrats are the most egregious about it. Like, you go fuck yourself. But the point is that at the end of the day, it's like we would know.
Two Georgia senators and what they were up to.
Oh, yeah, seriously. But that's the point, though, is we would know something. The fact that, like, here's the thing, is that the narrative, and this is what me and my guys, we had this discussion last week, and what we realized is that was Lindsey Graham the guy that was meant to eat all the shots, take all the shots possible, and not be, like, literally be the golden boy the entire fucking time? Like, was he supposed to be the guy that we all fucking hated, even though he was the golden child? And it's like, fuck, all right,
yeah, pretty much.
Shit. And mind you, now, of course, there's the discourse of, okay, did he actually did he die of natural causes, or did he die of unnatural causes, et cetera, which that whole discussion, it's like, guys, I'm sorry, but if I'm looking at the report, an aortic rupture, that's a horrendously bad heart attack. Like, and I love the way that my buddy Will put it. Even if he was at the hospital on the table, fully scrubbed down, fully anesthetized, and fully fucking ready to go, they would not have been able to save him because of how long it would have taken for the anesthesia to kick in.
Yeah.
Like, it literally, that's how fast he died. If that is the actual case. Yeah. Like, he would have died near,
like having a brain aneurysm. You're just here 1 minute and gone the next.
Yeah, it's literally that simple. So at the end of the day, honestly speaking, like, that the narrative around his cause of death, like, I'm sorry, guys, but I'm not trying to be a dick to Burlingame and to Holt and to Murray and so on and so forth, but I think you guys are reaching a little bit on that one. I think you're reaching.
Yeah, to me, you might have some, like, a few $1 million squirreled away in a Swiss bank account from, like, kickbacks from Raytheon or something, but it don't look like he was getting it. It's well for his sister to find when he's dead, but I don't think there's no, like, massive stock trading scam, corrupt land yards. I like, it looks like he just kind of simple life.
Well, here's the thing, and this is a discussion that somebody else brought up. One of my guys brought this point up, is that now we're starting to realize, like, the whole narrative around him You know, like, oh, he doesn't have a wife, he doesn't have kids, he must be gay. And it's actually really funny because at the end of the day, it's like, okay, sure, we can make that argument, but let me give a juxtaposition. What if we don't know who the fuck his family is? What if it's a case of like this motherfucker was the golden boy that had all the fucking dirt on people, and that's why the whole Mitch McConnell situation is playing out the way it is? Because when you take and this is where I start, like, I give a 10% chance to the narrative that he was murdered. I give 10%. Because here's the thing, is that the situation with Mitch McConnell is way too interesting. Because Kentucky has a Democrat governor. That governor could appoint a Democrat into that position. He most assuredly would appoint a Democrat, which would throw everything into chaos up on the Hill, even worse than it is now. And it's like, okay. And we know at this point in time that Mitch McConnell started acting radically fucking different right after Butler. Meaning that more than likely, if Graham was, in fact, murdered, then at that point in time, I think that the situation with Mitch, you're gonna hold on as long as you fucking can out of spite and malice for the express purpose of, we're not gonna let you die peacefully. Like, you don't get to just expire, motherfucker. Now, I also have another side of that. Now, we're that's the side of Burlingame and Holt and Murray and them are right. I have another side to it that I would like to put out is, what if they're trying to bump off Republican senators? They're trying to bump off characters, because here's the thing is, in the case of Mitch McConnell, everybody likes to play up the idea that he's been expiring for a long fucking time, blah, 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 so on and so forth. But here's the thing is that his downward spiral only really has been within the past 9 months. He's old, but he's not that old. So it's like, has Turtle Boy been targeted? And then in the case of Graham, was he targeted? And are they trying to bump off Republican senators? Now, the reason why I put that out there is because at the end of the fucking day, the spider web requires you to fucking account for all the threads. You don't have the spider web requires each individual fucking thread to function. So what's the possibility there? Again, I'm going to err on the more likely scenario that he just had a horrendous level heart attack where, again, as my buddy Will put it, even if he was on the table and ready to fucking go, he wouldn't have had the anesthesia quick enough in order to save him. Period.
Yeah.
So again, I think we've, and this is actually the really fucked up part about it, is we have been pushed into this position of looking for shit that isn't fucking there with the express purpose of keeping us distracted from shit. We have been pushed into that position, and we need to explore through lines, abso-fucking-lutely, but we also need to understand that through line is going to take time to develop. We need to put people on it, and then we need to move the fuck on. Which is why I have a specific appreciation of Colonel Watkins, because Colonel Watkins she's doing the through line on Gladio. And she has aired out so much Gladio bullshit at this point in time. It's like, oh yeah, no, the Europeans are, their goal has been use intelligence services to completely undermine the entire world. Check. Cool. Thank you for your service, Colonel. But she's been working that through a line, not everybody else. So, we need to continue, put a person on this through line, and who that might be, I don't know. But at the end of the day, when I see the response from Trump and Big Gay Patton this past week, well, shit. Speaking of Big Gay Patton, let me pull up his shit real quick. Because this motherfucker,
Michael Knowles was on Megyn Kelly earlier this week, and it was interesting. He basically said, no matter what status Mitch McConnell may or may not actually be, we're going to find out he's going to hold out to August 13th. And then we're going to find out, he's that day he died, or that day he has clinical brain injury. Like, that's the type of thing the Turtle is known for. As much as people don't like him for a bunch of different reasons, in the end, he has always been kind of like he hates the Democrats more.
Well, yeah, okay. So to really, to lean into the Burlingame argument here, when you look up Mitch McConnell and you understand his family and the history of his family, his family are part of the oligarchy, or I hate that term so fucking much. They are part of the aristocracy of Kentucky. They here's the thing is, like, people need to, and this is why even though I disagree with EM on a lot of things, and I think that he reaches a little too hard at times, I do agree with him on this, because the more research you do into these people, the more you realize the kind of powers that they have. And this is why I've always made the joke that the US is a mob country through and through, because there is a collection of families in each state that run the fucking states. And then there's a collection of families at the local level that run the locality. That is exactly how it fucking works. I'll give you guys an example, just for the sake of the argument. Down in the city of Cambridge, Ohio, there are 3 main families that run the city and the county as a whole, with the express purpose of extreme levels of protectionism. In the case of, you have the Theonopoulos family, I believe that's how you say it, who own the restaurant Theo's, who will abjectly oppose any big chain restaurant coming in that is known for paying their employees more. For example, Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A on average pays their employees around the $21 to $22 an hour mark. That's starting, by the way. Whereas Theo's, they run about the $18 to $19 an hour range for their normal employees. Well, if all of a sudden Chick-fil-A comes in, all of a sudden Theo's is competing with Chick-fil-A for workers and business in general. Because I'm sorry, Theo's is good, but if I have the choice between spending $15 on Theo's versus $15 on Chick-fil-A, I'm picking Chick-fil-A every fucking time. But the fact of the matter is that they abjectly oppose this shit. The same thing can be said about Orms, the Orms family. Orms, they opposed Rural King coming into the city for about 15 years. And it wasn't until Rural King agreed to not sell certain products that Orms specifically holds an effective monopoly over the sale of, or distribution of, I should say, within the city. If it wasn't for that, Rural King would have never come into the city. It would have never been able to get in, period, in a story. But because they made that concession, Rural King is now in, and Orms is still able to have their monopoly on the city, because that's the concessions that Rural King had to make. And different things like that. So yes, that kind of stuff is real. And Mitch McConnell's family down in Kentucky is very much that family through and through. And the more you understand, like, at the end of the day, this guy, he is going to do whatever benefits Kentucky through and through. And yes, you are absolutely correct. He fucking hates the Democrats a lot more than he hates us. Like whether you want to realize it or not, ladies and gentlemen, Mitch McConnell wasn't one of these uniparty boys. He was one of these, I'm going to fuck you way harder. And that's just the again, the unipartyists, you can pick them out of the crowd very easily by how easily they will jump ship to vote with one another. See, Mitch McConnell is in stark opposition to 90% of the shit that fucking the Democrats want. Whereas Susan Collins, for example, that's a little more of a tricky one. Now, in the case of Susan Collins,
I heard another story about
you want.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, if you want to talk about,
I heard something about Lindsey Graham from Michael Knowles, and he said that he was always a team player when it came to the Republican Senate. He was like being like Blake Masters. He was going to do a fundraiser for Blake Masters, and when the guys came in, and one of the other senators was like, "You're going to do that? You're totally opposed to him on Ukraine." And he's like, "I just think Blake Masters is wrong on Ukraine. But I want another Republican in the Senate. Way more than I need, who will agree with me 65-70% of the time. If it means, then I would like, well, if this guy can keep me in my Senate, in my chairmanships, I'm going to support him." So he was always kind of that, glass full, half full, than glass half empty type of a Republican.
Yeah, but but no, moving over to Big Gay Pat and Scott Bissett. I'm just gonna read this off real quick. At President Trump's direction, U.S. Treasury is bringing the full weight of our authorities to defend the integrity of the U.S. and global financial systems. We'll identify illicit funding, however artfully it is concealed. We will dismantle the networks that sustain political terrorism, however respectable their fronts may be. We will pursue those who enable political violence, however distant their jurisdictions. And then later that night, you had the speech by Donald Trump exposing a bunch of the malfeasance that played into 2020. Mm-hmm. Now, just so everybody is aware, and I'm speaking more on a personal side here because my brother comes to mind, for example. Whether you want to fucking listen or not doesn't change reality. 2020 was a shit show. The data proves it. The evidence is shown clearly and in the open. Whether you want to believe it or not doesn't fucking change jack fucking shit. Sit the fuck down, shut the fuck up, do some reading, and get over yourselves. No, I did. My brother literally when I was reading over some of the documents, I haven't read over the entire drop yet. Unfortunately, I just haven't had the time. But when I was reading over some of the documents, I was like, "Oh, son of a bitch!" Me and Tom. I was expecting my brother to bring it up at some point in time afterwards, and he hasn't yet. Which I suspect he might not have actually watched it or have seen the drop made or anything. But I think within the next week or so, I might end up getting into an argument with him over it. Mm-hmm. But no, like simply put, it's like, I'm sorry, guys, but you don't get to deny it anymore. You just don't. And it's very clear that the whole Russia bullshit was specifically spun up to conceal this shit. Spin up the narrative about Russia so that when our boys in Hong Kong do their shit in 2020, we have perfect cover when we finally get exposed later. Because I'm fully, given the response that we've seen so far from the drop, is that they were expecting to eventually get exposed. They just probably weren't expecting to get exposed in this fashion. because I think they were expecting for Trump to go through the Congress to expose this, and then he just did it himself. And now they're fucking that's what they're scrambling to figure out now, is because now they're sitting there like, shit. He did an inroad around us, and he's got the Treasury involved. What the fuck?
Yep.
And for those who might not understand how important the Treasury being looped in on this, you know, by the way, you know, for anybody who's curious, we've had a hostile Treasury for the past like 40, 50 years to the executive. The executive and the Treasury have not gotten along particularly well over the course of the past, you know, half a century. The fact that we have a Treasury and a secretary actually working together to actually clamp down on shit is a fucking breath of fresh air. It's almost as biblical as having the Fed and the executive working together.
Yep.
Almost. Now, speaking... go ahead. Sorry. No, go ahead.
I was just... yeah, so no, like, I disagree with the thing. I was listening to some other people talking about, like, they're concerned about the interest rate staying low as opposed to thinking you rated higher to start doing stuff. I'm like, Nick, what are you thinking about the interest rate as it currently stands?
So, all right. The Fed funds rate, in my opinion, is it's one of those things where, yeah, I get it. People want it to be lower. But at the same time, we need to really have a discussion on whether or not we want it to be lower. Now, in the current financial situation that the country finds itself in, the Fed funds rate being lower, in my opinion, is a bad thing. Now, that's my opinion. This is just based off what I've seen, what I've heard. But across the board, one of my personal views on it is we are looking at the combative nature of worldwide finance. All these illicit money flows, all of these backroom deals that had been going on for years and years and years. And then on top of that, the fact that we had a Fed and Treasury that, one, weren't coordinating policy whatsoever, and two, a Fed chair and a Treasury chair at, you know, specific times, Bernanke, looking at you, who were specifically trying to fuck the country. You know, the issuance of 6-month T-bills, for example, let's just take that metric. The 6-month T-bill issuance has been biblically bad for the U.S. across the board. It has literally been everybody wants to talk about how the U.S. has this massive national debt and so on and so forth. And it's like, look at the 6-month T-bill market and tell me that the fucking national debt is the problem. The problem is the 6-month T-bill market. That's where the problem is. Now, then you also look at the recent bond sale or the recent bond auction and compare it to other nations that are struggling incredibly hard in order to get people to take their debt. The example that me and my guys specifically went into in our podcast that we just did last week was the U.S. bond auction versus Germany's bond auction.
Yeah,
U.S. bond auction. Yeah, the U.S. bond auction went off without a hitch. And most of the sales were in the 10-year market. Like we're talking more than 50%, if I remember correctly. Then you juxtapose that to Germany. Germany was just trying to raise $6 billion. We raised, double or triple that, if I remember correctly, just through our normal auction. They were going for $6 billion, barely raised $3 billion, and that was after they raised by 5 basis points at the auction. They had to raise at the auction 5 fucking basis points. Like, I love, how Tom likes to talk about the 5 basis points to change the world. Back in what was it, 2019? There you go. Fucking the admittance that nobody wants European debt when the fucking Germans, the stable leg of the European economy, have to raise by 5 fucking basis points just to raise 50% of what they're looking for. I don't know what to fucking tell you people. Like, I get it. There are arguments, and they're good arguments for lowering the interest rates, but at the end of the fucking day, the U.S. looks like it's holding perfectly fine. And now the arguments about the housing market, for example, the bond market isn't like, I'm sorry, the bond market is not the only problem here. It's not. Like one of the key things, and this is something that me and my buddy Gavin, you've met Gavin previously on Discord. Me and Gavin have had this conversation multiple times in our personal dealings because we're doing this stuff in real life. The number of houses that are currently being held off of market is astro-fucking-nomical. And it's because these houses need fucking renovations. Everybody likes to use this metric. Oh, there's X number of houses available in the US and there's this many homeless people. And it's like, motherfucker, I'd say a good 2/3 of those houses are unlivable right now. At least. Right. We're talking houses that are so out of code, so out of date, and so out of just in complete. Like, hell, I bet you dollars to fucking donuts I can go into half of them, look at the basement, and tell you, oh yeah, the foundation's fucked, it needs torn down. Like, the problem isn't just the bond market. It's not, the interest rates don't fucking matter whatsoever when the supply itself is either artificially being held down or there's not enough people willing to put money into actually getting these houses back to a livable state. Right.
Well, and so, like when I bought my first house 10 years ago, where I went to a lot of houses that were in that shape, but people were like, young entrepreneurs that were looking for houses were like, okay, well, I can fix this, I can fix that. Like, I can make this house to a livable place in a few months with me and my buddies and doing some work, but maybe that kind of attitude is not available to the new generations. I don't know.
Well, okay, so I can tell you this right now. The problem is startup capital. The problem is capital. It's not the attitude, it's the capital. Because the problem is that, like in the case of me and my buddy, we've got a situation right now where we have a contact that has several properties that she wants to offload. And these properties need about 20 to 30 grand of work per property. At least. Now, we're talking, we're just talking general getting them back into workable shape. Not full overhauls here. Full overhauls, you're talking 40, 50 grand bare fucking minimum. And the problem that you have then is that you don't have the available manpower working on these houses. So you have a capital problem. The capital is not there to actually get the work started. And then you have the manpower problem of the people who have the workable skills in order to get shit fucking going. Because, like, for example, in my case, I would say I'm about I like to break people down into 25, 50, and 75% metrics. In most of that stuff, that kind of stuff, I'm about 25%. There's a few things where it's like, oh, I'm a 50%. I've got enough knowledge to be fucking dangerous. And then there's a couple things where it's like, oh yeah, I know how to fucking do that, no problem. Like I can do that with my eyes closed. And that's the whole thing, is like at the end of the day, you don't have the manpower. Like me and my brother, you know, I'm working with my brother right now, and we're doing a renovation on a house that this couple, you know, they lived in the house for about 30 years. They built a new house. They're selling off the old one, and we're redoing the floors. We're redoing the tile of, or we ripped the old shower out. We're tiling that instead of having the set-in showers. We're actually doing a proper tile shower. And then we're retiling around the one tub. And then, you know, that's the extent of the work we're doing. Well, the thing is that in the case of my brother, you know, he had to, like, he's billing the customer for a lot of it. But, you know, if he had to fork out the cash for certain things, he probably would be over budget by a couple thousand at least just on this project, let alone if you're talking a full overhaul or a partial overhaul of a house that is currently not livable.
Right.
So you really have to understand, you know, if you're going to be in this conversation, you have to understand there's a lot more at play than just the bond market. So the interest rates themselves, I'm not looking at it freaking out. I'm like, okay, this is a decent holding position. Would I love to see it down by the 2.25 point? Yes, absolutely. I would love to see that, because then at that point in time, the range is, you know, 225 to 250, you know, a decent manageable point for practically fucking everybody. And then at that point in time, everything's fucking solid. If everything came down 100 basis points, it would be fucking golden for most people. But the problem is that at the end of the fucking day, it's like we kind of have to be in a holding pattern because the capital's not there, which, you know, everybody would be like, oh, well, if we bring down interest rates, it's going to free up capital. It's like, it could. But the problem is that then you have to understand where the capital is going to flow to. The capital is going to flow to the builders. It's not going to flow to the guys that are doing the work to get houses that are already on the market back, or should be on the market, I should say, back on the market. It's not going to flow to them. It's going to flow to the builders, just like it has in every single housing boom bust cycle for the past fucking 50 years. We need to get to a point where the banks feel safe enough, and right now the banks are in a very, very cozy position with the current interest rates. They have to be safe. They have to feel safe enough at 225, 250 in order for them to give out those 30, 50K loans so guys can go do the work on the houses that should be on the market but aren't. We have to get to that point. And right now we're nowhere fucking near that.
Okay.
Again, opinions. Yeah. Opinions. I just, it's what I'm seeing from my personal interactions with the guys that work in this industry. And technically I work in that industry. Like this is just what I'm seeing on the ground level on the front line. Like it, you know, salted to taste for yourself. I it's just my thing.
Hey,
I would much rather I would much rather be doing landscaping. Let's just put it that way. I'd much rather be doing landscaping than dealing with this shit. Actually, it's actually really funny. Yesterday, I was at my brother's because Saturday is the so as part of the business stuff. I'm doing family lawns as part of my marketing side of things. So I'm doing my brothers, my dad's, my grandma's, and a couple other family lawns. And then I'm putting putting yard signs in their yards for marketing. And basically the point is that people are going to be driving by. They see the lawn. They see it's in immaculate condition. They see the sign. They might think, oh, hey, I actually got in touch with my brother's neighbor yesterday, because apparently he wanted to hit me up a little bit, and I might be able to get him with a rehab contract, to rehab his lawn, because poor guy's front yard is just fucked. It's washed out like a motherfucker. So it needs reseeded, it needs tilled, reseeded, and just needs a lot of TLC. And he looks out at the lawn, at my brother's lawn, because I just gotten done doing it like an hour beforehand. And he's just sitting there. And he's like, it just looks so fucking good. And the fact that the sidewalks, like you could plow that, no problem in the winter with how good or how well it's cut back and everything. And I was like, yeah. And you would be very surprised by how little things like that can have a wider effect. Cutting back the freaking grass and re-edging a sidewalk, the follow-on effect of making it easier to shovel that bitch or snow blow that bitch during the winter. And that's the thing, as I want to push to people, is understanding that the little shit matters in the grand scheme, because there are follow-on effects from the little shit. Like, for example, Scott Bissett saying that we're going after the illicit money flows. Well, what's the follow-on effect of that? What? All of a sudden, illegal money is not making its way into our elections. There isn't bot farms being used to sway people's opinions on particular events. All this different stuff that can go into that's affected by just that action. And I love how I managed to draw this from landscaping.
No. Broken windows theory for landscaping.
Yeah. There you go. But no, that's the whole thing. And then and I can carry on with this example. Actually, wow, this metaphor has some legs. Apparently, you look at take my brother's back patio. The patio itself is sunken about 1.5 inches in the ground. So every time it fucking rains, the mud runs right onto the fucking patio. Well, in order to fucking do anything about that, you got to put up a fucking barrier, like the southern border.
Yep.
And oh wait, what's happened? Well, the southern border is not getting flooded anymore, and we're everybody wants to bitch about mass deportations, and it's like, hey guys. To get my brother's lawn to the state it is currently, I've had to do 2 weekends of spending about 2 to 3 hours really working on it. And next weekend, I should be done getting it to the point where it's just straight maintenance. So 3 times on one lawn to get it to that point. And hell, to be completely frank, I still don't have all the equipment I need in order to truly actually get it to that point, to that true point of just straight up maintenance. But you have to do step by step. You can't just do, step 1, skip to step 6. It's like, no, you have to do steps 2 through 5 before you can fucking do step 6. You can't just be skipping shit. Period. End of story.
Yep, no, it reminds me of Tom. Finally, Tom was on a podcast a week or 2 ago. He explained why he kept calling libertarians right-wing communists, and it was basically, we can get to what the libertarians want is their paradise, but we got to do steps A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way through the alphabet. But libertarians want to just go to Z, just like communists. I'm like, yeah, that explains it.
Absolutely. No, and here's the funny part is I've started, because I have been able to. I have a particular through line that I've been working personally on the side because so this is how the British invented communism and blamed it on the Jews was a revelation of a book. That book, Richard Poe did some excellent fucking work on this. And by the way, everybody, if you want to talk shit about, oh, he's a Jew, of course he's gonna try to blame the Europeans for Jewish actions. Motherfucker, the fucking Nora bin Laden did the foreword for his book. A fucking bin Laden. Out of everybody involved, a fucking bin Laden is agreeing with the Jew. I'm sorry, but fucking square that circle, motherfucker. Now, the point is that at the end of the day, I have started. I ever since I read his book and some of the points that he made, I'm surprised he didn't make this connection all the way through. But to be completely frank, I don't think everybody was ready to be thinking in this way previously when his book was first released. And I think now that it's been a couple years, people are starting to be ready to think this way. The Jacobin movement itself was the genesis of communism. Communism itself did not start in Bolshevik Russia. It started in revolutionary France. And that means that communism had over 100 years of development in intelligence service development, in which they were able to develop connections, networks.
Yards, and I can't remember who. I remember studying the Paris Commune, and it's like communards are definitely in the early, even more advanced early Bolsheviks, and then you also had I can't remember what the.
Did the connection drop? David, I think your connection dropped a little bit. Okay, well, while David is currently silent, I'm just going to continue on my point real quick, just to flesh out my through line. The fact of the matter is that what you end up having as a result of the Jacobins is that the Jacobins push forward, do their thing. The abject horror that was the murder of Marie Antoinette, for example. I'm very, 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 very malice enters my mind when I think about those events, specifically because she was a fucking child. Like, they murdered a child to solidify their political control. Which is just laughable in my opinion. But the Bolsheviks murdered 5 children in their day, so it is what it is, unfortunately. But as you carry forward and you start connecting the Jacobins, carry forward to the Paris Commune, who many of the families that were involved in the Jacobin uprising were also there at the Paris Commune, and then the First National, and then to the Bolsheviks. Many of the Jacobin families were still heavily involved in the Bolshevik Revolution, carried all the way forward. and to many places in Africa and in Southeast Asia. Southeast Asia specifically, if you look into there's quite a few Jacobins involved in Southeast Asia. And then forward to the 1950s, you start to realize where the libertarians come from. Libertarians are nothing more than Jacobins. It's just they had to moderate. They had to moderate hard. And yeah, unfortunately, it's one of those things where I just don't believe, I don't believe people are truly ready to accept it. I'll say it like that. Are you back, good sir?
We're not having the best of luck here.
Well, I just finished up my through line real quick for the viewers. I will rehash it for you if need be.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. All these rurals that I end up at. I'm at my stepdad's place in the countryside, so he doesn't get necessarily the best of connection.
Let me just sum it up. Just sum it up like this: libertarians are Jacobins, and you're not going to convince me otherwise.
Oh no, I agree. They were the proto-libertarians were right beside the proto-communists in the Paris Commune.
Well, not just that, but you also have the fact that if you go and you look at the 1950s, because everybody likes to cite the 1970s of when the libertarian movement started, and it's like, no, the Libertarian Party started in the 1970s. The movement itself actually started in the 50s, and there's actually a Gladio connection there as well. Surprised Watkins hasn't talked about that yet.
No doubt there would be. Might have not have figured it out yet.
I've been wanting to sit down with Watkins to talk about the libertarians because everybody. So finally, actually, let's talk about this. I guess everybody's finally caught up with me on Mormons. Finally, people have started making the connections. So, now I just need people to catch up to me on libertarians, and then it's I'm just gonna be sitting there like, yeah, motherfuckers. Yep. Because the Mormon thing, shit, I'd have to go back and search through our library. Actually, let me pull it up real quick. When was the, because there was the, oh God, expand that to 50. Because I know we did a video specifically talking about the Mormons really early on.
Oh yeah, you remember that? Oh yeah, I'm trying to reach out to Watkins myself because I just feel I can fill in a lot of blanks for her because she'll every so often I never agree with this, and I'm like, I knew about that 20 years ago.
Lordy. Wow. 2024. That's the first when we first uploaded. Wait, when was that? Hold on, sorry, I'm looking back at our older videos. September 28th, 2024. Oh shit. If I had to
David S.
What?
I'm saying I know we were hooked up by David S., but I thought it was in 2025.
Yeah, no, that's how you and me met. It was through David.
Okay.
David introduced me to David. I believe it would have been later last year. Yeah, it would have been later last year because yeah, it was somewhere in this so basically let's just say August of last year is when I started fucking beating the fucking drum about fucking Mormons hard. Because at the end of the day, like I'd already kind of been like super mistrustful of Mormons because I learned how the church actually functions and how their culture actually fucking functions years beforehand. Like I remember me and my girlfriend, you know, when me and her were first talking and she was telling me about her family and she grew up in a evangelical Pentecostal cult. And we were having a conversation about cults in general, and I brought the Mormons, and this was back in 2024. 2024 or mid to late 2024, and it's like, yeah, no, I've been on this Mormon shit for a while. Fucking, it's like you think the group of guys that specifically started a war with the U.S. government, you know, in order to try to force the U.S. government to acknowledge them as a religion, they weren't going to be a fucking problem.
Oh no, definitely. Mormonism has been a problem since the beginning.
Oh man. Oh no, I should have fucking thought of that. Sorry, I'm looking at my YouTube. I popped onto my YouTube dashboard real quick, and somebody had commented on my last video that I uploaded, and it was in regards to the very funny little intro I did to the video, and I'm like, God damn it, yeah, why didn't I think about that?
Did you hear about the bear on the California flag?
The bear on the California flag?
Yeah, it's apparently moved to Texas.
Well, last time I checked, California's getting to the point where they're going to have to add a second head to that bear.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Anybody who gets that reference, you're part of my friend group. I know you do. No, it's actually really funny. Now that you brought up, now that I've referenced Fallout there, have you seen the absolute biblical shit show over at Microsoft?
No, I haven't paid attention to them other than the fact that I
okay, so
my cheap laptop from Microsoft.
So we have a situation developing at Microsoft, specifically with Xbox, but it shows the redirection of Microsoft as a whole. First off, we had the restructuring of Microsoft late last year, I believe it was, where Microsoft laid off a bunch of people and kind of purged the ranks, and some of the worst of the company were purged as part of that. Well, now you have over at Xbox the same thing going on, where some of the worst offenders within the gaming sphere, when it comes to the development side of things, have been purged from places like Bethesda and the like. And it's very interesting for me personally because it's like, okay, one, I'm a massive Fallout fan. I like Elder Scrolls, but my love of Elder Scrolls mainly resides with Morrowind. That's just that was the first Elder Scrolls game I ever played, so I kind of just latched onto that one as a thing. But Fallout, I fucking adore Fallout to no end. So it's nice for me to see these massive changes over at Bethesda because finally Bethesda's got a fire lit under their fucking ass to actually fucking do something.
Right.
But then we have the situation with Microsoft as a whole that this is just a part of. And it's very interesting where now we're starting to see something that resembles, we had the government buy 10% of Intel. We have the government who basically has an exclusive contract with Microsoft. We then have the lawsuit, the intellectual property lawsuit against and corporate espionage lawsuit against OpenAI.
Right.
And it's very clear that corporate America is being directed to start attacking and purging the nefarious elements within their ranks. And so it's very interesting to see because some of the artists, for example, that were cut from Bethesda, like they're atrocious individuals, like they're full blown communists, like full blown. Yeah. And so it's just very interesting for me from a geopolitical and analytical side of things. It's like interesting, like. Microsoft has been purging these motherfuckers for a while now, and then all of a sudden, the gaming side of things starts getting purged. Okay, cool. I'm starting to have I'm starting to have this feeling that everybody's freaking out because CEO, I don't remember her fucking first name, but Usha is her name.
Okay.
Everybody's like, oh, Usha's an Indian. She's just trying to replace a bunch of American workers with Indian workers and whatnot. And it's like, well, here's the problem with that because you're like, oh, she applied for 3,000 H-1Bs, and it's like, yeah, that's not correct, but okay, because the applications are from her entire time with Microsoft.
Yeah, right.
It's like she's been with Microsoft for 2 years now. Which, if you're hiring people to bring them in to do contract work, well, who can you pay the less when it comes to contractors? Indians. So, okay, cool. Just thinking from the through line side of things, it's like, and then also you realize that it was only about 75% or so of the people that she had sought or that they had sought H-1Bs for were actually Indian. The other 25% were a mix from the rest of the world. It's like, they're just seeking lowest bidders. Like that seems to be exactly what and honestly speaking, why wouldn't you when you have one-off projects? You're not going to hire somebody to fucking do that. And American contractors are shit. So I'm not trying to be a dick to everybody, but if you're a contractor in the US, I have a negative opinion of you in general because you really, really, really think too highly of yourself when it comes to your projects.
Well, I agree with that. Sometimes I've done a bit of contracting myself, but for the most part, the people who are hired by the company are more loyal to the company, in my experience. But when you have a situation where I just need someone to be here for 6 months, I don't want to make shuffle people from place to place, and sometimes you just have to make those kind of business case decisions. The fact that she's only had 3,000 in 2 years versus some of the other people, bad actors out there who have like 100%, or like you're bringing in like bringing in engineers into Microsoft versus a coffee like Starbucks equivalent, bringing in low skilled wages earners from India. Those are kind of more
and
like
here's the thing.
Spirit of the
Yeah, and here's the thing about it, and this is why I made the comment I did, is unfortunately, when it comes down to it, like people think like they are owed more than it's like, I'm sorry, you're being hired to work on this specific thing for 3 months and you're getting paid $30K and you're bitching.
Yeah.
Like, excuse me? Like I'm sitting here fucking bidding on a $48,000 a year contract that literally I do everything for this property company, from landscaping to snow plowing. That's $48,000 a year. Like that contract fucking handles most of my like 90% of my expenses a year. Just that one.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here, I'm like, yeah, cool, fuck yeah. I have to spend 20 hours a week, 30 on the high end, depending on the situation. I had to spend very little amount of time overall covering 90% of my fucking expenses per year. Yeah, I'm gonna take that every fucking day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's like, as a contractor, like I'm sitting here, it's like, oh no, you got to work 40 hours, 50 hours a week for 3 months for $30K? Motherfucker, like, what are you doing with your money that you can't afford to live? Like, what are you bitching about? Like, you do that three times a year, that's 90 fucking K. Yep. Like if you can't live off of 90K a fucking year, for example, and hell, if you do it 4 times a year, because I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh hey, I just worked my ass off for, I'll take a month off. Like, excuse me, or 2 months off or 3 months off, like excuse the fuck out of me. How can you not fucking just get this shit done? And how are you bitching? It just blows my mind.
Yeah. Well, with that, we've been talking about an hour and a half. I do have to get to others and hanging out with folks for a bit. But this has been this one, even though I had the mic problem earlier, this stream went a lot better than the last one where my phone literally overheated. So I want
your phone borderline exploded.
Yeah, we're having come by and looking forward to seeing the comments in the future, and all the people who watch this stream as we do our stream of consciousness every time. So if you like this stuff, you want to see more, like, share, subscribe, and I'll be doing more shows in the next coming months from Europe. Will be interesting. I plan to go to this London and take a few shots and maybe do a little bit of stream from and a few other things while I'm in the UK, and then on to other countries beyond that. So bye-bye.
We clear?
And hopefully this restream will stream.
What's up? Do, 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 do.